I turn to the Minister for Employment and Learning, and I call Martin
Muilleoir. Question number 1.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. With your permission, I wish to group questions 1 and 2 and would like to request an additional minute for the answer. Members are aware from my statement of 1 July 2014 that the International Panel completed its review and delivered its report Aspiring to Excellence on initial teacher education infrastructure in Northern Ireland. The report proposed 4 options for future structures which could move us towards a world-class standard of teacher education. They are a collaborative partnership, a 2-centre model with the Belfast Institute of Education and the second centre based in the North West, a Northern Ireland Teacher Education Federation and a Northern Ireland Institute of Education. As a first step towards engagement with the sector during September, I met with the 4 providers, Queen's, Stranmillis, St Mary's and Ulster University, to hear their views. The meetings were constructive and engagement will continue as we consider how best to align the views put forward by the institutions with those of the International Panel. I would, however, remind members that both reviews of initial teacher education confirm that the status quo is not an option for the future delivery of initial teacher education. The issue of the financial sustainability of the current structure has become more pressing now that, as a result of the budget, my department faces budget cuts which will necessitate difficult decisions on a range of functions and services across the department and arm's-length bodies. It is in this context that I have advised St Mary's and Stranmillis that I plan to remove the small and specialist institution premia funding from the beginning of the 2015-16 academic year. The Aspiring to Excellence report provides alternatives to the current infrastructure, alternatives which could enable initial teacher education to be delivered in a more cost-effective way and to a world-class standard. In my view, the options which best achieve these criteria would seem to be options B, a 2-university approach, or D, a single institution. And I have written to the initial teacher education providers requesting they develop proposals to structure teacher education along these lines. I plan to meet with each of the providers this month to discuss their views. I would also firmly reiterate that my main aim in this process continues to be how we can best structure a system that can deliver world-class standards of teacher education, one that is financially sustainable, promotes greater sharing and integration, and is in the best interests of our young people.
I call Martin Muilleoir.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I wonder, would the Minister, and he was very frank in his answer, would he accept that the removal of the premia will lead to the closure of St Mary's University College? Would he accept that this will be the biggest body blow to the area of highest unemployment in Belfast in a generation if St Mary's does close? And would he let me know what economic impacts that he's carried out? Thank you.
Minister.
Well, I would recognise that the impact would be significant on St Mary's, and this is a serious issue for them, though I wouldn't necessarily assume that it means the closure of St Mary's. But this context is happening in a situation where we already know that our teacher infrastructure in Northern Ireland is very fragmented. It is costly, much more costly than comparative systems elsewhere in the world, and we're not actually reaching our full potential either in terms of the standard and linkages, particularly with research. So there's a real prize here in terms of reform, and I believe that through a process of engagement, including St Mary's, we can find agreement on a way forward that does look to issues such as the future provision of higher education in West Belfast, that also takes into account the different needs of the education sector in Northern Ireland, and stress that that type of point and perspective can be accommodated through a range of different institutional formats. So I think that there is the opportunity for discussions amongst all the providers to find a consensus on what is a better way forward, not just for institutions, but primarily for the future teachers of Northern Ireland, and as a consequence, the future students who will go through our school system.
I call